going back to RE 15, we need to get a consensus on what kind of millage the city would like to put forward. Right now, the proposal is to have flat millage, 7.571 on operating and 0.9 on debt service. But I'm here to answer any questions or give any information as to what impact any various rates would have.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, you recognize.
I had asked earlier that we come up with this $5 and $15 and $50 scenario.
I'm ready to answer those questions, Commissioner.
Could you kind of present them? I don't know the questions to ask.
Okay. If you wanted, and I'll go to a number that's significant so that it means something versus $5 or $10. If the city wanted to impact the average homestead property owner in the city of Miami by, let's say, $60 a year, which would be roughly $5 a month, that would bring $13.9 million additional revenue to the city and would allow us certainly more flexibility than we have now. If a property owner of $500,000 were to be impacted by that level of increase, which would be $500,000, a $500,000 property would see an increase of $250, or roughly $21 a month. $1 million property would see a $500 increase. So the average homestead property owner in the city of Miami would see $60, a $500,000 property $250, and $1 million property $500 a year.
I'm sorry, 60 was how much? What was the value of the property?
An average homestead property in the city of Miami is $118,112 as provided by the property appraiser.
And you're saying that $118,000 property would be approximately $60 per year?
$60 more per year, and that would yield $13.9 million to the city's general fund.
And again, a $500,000 appraised value property would...
Taxable value. A $500,000 taxable value.
Taxable value. And $1 million, I think you said, was $500.
$500 taxable. It could be appraised higher if it has some kind of exemption.
Okay.
I mean, I just want to be clear. The item we're voting on now, we don't need 4/5 on this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. This would be. I mean, this would give us the time to come back in September and really make the final vote on what it is. So whatever millage we vote on now is not the actual... Correct,
Commissioners. No. Whatever millage you vote on today is the millage that will be put on the trim notice that will be mailed to residents of the county or property owners in August 24th. In September, when we come back to the Commission September 13th and the 27th, the Commissioners will approve a preliminary budget on September 13th and a final budget on September 27th. At both of those meetings, the Commission has the ability to reduce whatever millage you approve today, but not the ability to increase.
But what you're saying is, well, I think even if we kept the mill where we are now, it'd still be advertised as a tax increase.
Where we are right now, as proposed, would be an advertised tax increase. That is correct.
And I'm sorry, the mill rate presently for the, what is the number right now?
7.571 is the current millage. If you were to put another half a mil, it would go to 8.071.
Danny, the total mill right now is 8.5.
Yes, that includes the debt service millage. I'm assuming that the debt service millage would remain at 0.9, right? So that the total would go to 8.971. If I may state that again, the current operating millage is 7.571. The current proposed debt service millage is 0.9 for a total of 8.501. If we were to add a half a mil to the operating millage, it would take the operating millage to 8.071, and the debt service would be 0.9. Therefore, the combined total would be 8.971.
And when does that notice have to go out again? I just want to be clear.
The notices, well, I have to get to the property appraiser this information by August 3rd.
August 3rd.
August 3rd. Then the appraiser will put that onto the trim notice that goes out to every homeowner and property owner in the city of Miami. They will get that. And then in September, we will have the 2 hearings, at which time the Commission can decide to lower the millage.
Yeah. Let me just... It's like a lot of chatter. I'm sorry. I mean, we started having this discussion earlier, and I do understand the feeling about making a decision like this and the message that it sends to residents. But I think that we have a responsibility to kind of communicate the other side of the story, and that is, if we don't, where does that find us? And you know, I said earlier, and I was just really throwing out a number the last time, saying, you know, an extra, you know, $5 a year or extra $5 a month, you know, the average household, even just looking at in my district, which, like I said, I'm going to say the most challenged district, not to say you don't have challenging areas in your districts. I just, for $5 a month, I just, and I know I was a little emotional earlier about it, because I really do feel like sometimes we get so caught up in, you know, in the smoke and mirrors of everything, that we just forget the things that are most important. And we know that we need to close this gap, and here's a way for us to close the gap. The unions have gotten up here, and they've been sacrificing for the last 4 years. Police, fire, and, you know, the general employees, they've been making the sacrifices. You know, everybody's making sacrifices, and I just, you know, I can't see any resident in either one of our districts having an issue with a $5 increase, knowing that they're going to have, at least have the support, more support on the street with police, fire, and the general services. I think it's how we communicate it to our residents. I really do. And it's not based on one person, it's based on all 5 of us. We all have to be able to sell this message. And, you know, my one conversation I had with one of the unions, you know, it's like, if this is something we make a decision on, then we all have to work together to make sure we communicate one united message to, you know, to the residents of the city of Miami about this issue. But I just think it's wrong, you know, and I understand, Mr. Mayor, your viewpoint, you know, about what you feel you're going to do is to veto this item. But I wish you'd be vetoing some other stuff too, you know. And we have an issue right now where, you know, for 4 years they've been giving pints of blood, you know, to keep the city going. And the reality is, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want a police officer on the streets. At least in Liberty City, Overtown, Little Haiti, where I'm having the most shooting-related incidents, where you have police officers, quite frankly, their morale is in the toilet because they feel like the city just does not care anything about them. You heard them get up here and say, we all heard it, not only just from the unions, but I'm just telling you, even from officers that may not even be big union supporters, but the message that we send to them as police officers, that we're not trying to even protect our own. And these people lay down their lives for us every single day. And I know that part of it is, you know, you want to make a point, and I understand that you want the residents to feel that you've made a commitment not to, you know, raise their taxes. But I think that's a question that we need to be asking the residents. I think the residents have to weigh in on this. And I just tell you straight up, you know, from my district, I'm sure if I said if they had to pay $5 or have more police on the street, or make sure that when it's time for us to call 911, you know, for fire rescue to come, that would not be a big issue for them. It's just not. And I'm just one district, but I think that we should give ourselves the opportunity to, I would rather not go into this budget not having the ability to negotiate or finagle the numbers. I just really would rather have that option. And we've had this conversation, Danny and I have been talking about this for months, actually. And I'm glad that Commissioner Sarnoff chimed in on it, because quite frankly, I felt that you probably would have been the one that, you know, had probably the biggest issue with it. But at the end of the day, it's up to the 5 of us up here. You know, we have to look at what's best for the entire city as well. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, you should support that. You should support us having the ability to say, hey, yeah, we set the millage at this amount, but we do have the opportunity to negotiate those numbers down and at least look at finding ways to balance the budget so that everybody's making a sacrifice. Everybody's making a sacrifice.
Commissioner, this is not to make a point. This is to fix a city that was broken. Mm-hmm. And it was broken because of the practice of the past. It was broken because the residents were told that they have to make sacrifices, and we saw the consequences. In every district, we had many foreclosures. In every district, we have many families out of work.
But Mr. Mayor,
but if I
with all
may.
due respect, nobody's going into no foreclosures for $3.54. That's just not going to happen. For $5, they're not going to go into foreclosure. For $60 a year, they're not going to go into foreclosure. But guess what? At the same time, if we had $60 per, I'm just using 60 only because that's a number, we will be closing at least half of that gap. That doesn't mean we have to do that again next year. That means that at least that gives us a little, gives us a little breathing room for some of these wonderful projects like we heard today. I just asked Javier on the side, how much more money would this generate for the city? Oh, Commissioner, in the next 2 years, you're talking about an extra $5 million we'll be paying in taxes. So all of these great projects that we know we have on the books that's going to be happening over the next 3 or 4 years will help us, you know, fill those gaps in that we may have to make the sacrifice on now. But I sat up here on the dais with you for those 6 years, or at least the 4 years, because 2 I was gone, and, you know, we didn't, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but nobody was ever calling my phone, quite frankly, and saying, Commissioner, I got an issue because we're now paying $2 extra. That was never an issue.
In the last budget that the past administration presented to us, you and I and Commissioner Sarnoff were here. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of layoffs, and there were a lot of cuts. And we supported that budget because it was the necessary thing to do. I remember Mayor Diaz when he stood up here and he said, Commissioners, you need to approve this budget because if you don't, the next mayor will be the last mayor of the city of Miami, because this is unsustainable after years of contracts and raises and all that. And many people were laid off. Many had to be rehired by our administration because of the courts, but many people were laid off. We are working precisely for the employees of the city of Miami to have a future. You know, we could have gone the route of bankruptcy, or we could have called the governor and have an oversight board. Willie and I were here when the oversight board was in place, and I remember that at least 2 budgets that we approved were rejected, and they did their own budget. They took control of the city, and they raised taxes, and they raised the garbage fee, and they ordered the city to hire administrators and assistant directors and create, and it brought what it have. But what I'm trying to tell you is that what this commission has done, what this commission has done in the past years, have brought investment, trust of the investors, new constructions, which means that the base of the city will be much better in the near future. And this is the guarantee that we're giving the city employees, because I'm out of here when my terms are gone. Everybody is term limited here, but they are not. They will be here for many years, and we need to have a sound city for them. I am telling you that it is a mistake to raise taxes, because not only it sends the wrong message to the people of Miami, but to the investors, to the people that want to come to the city of Miami to live. Many people left the city of Miami during the 90s. Many people went to live in the suburbs, and they're coming back here because they're seeing opportunities. I am telling you that I believe that our employees have taken cuts, but they are working with their heart. I saw the City of Miami Police Department Last Tuesday, Commissioner Sarnoff and I were there, being very passionate about the work that they do to safeguard the streets. There were like 150, 200 people there, more than I ever seen on a community meeting, and I saw those police officers, one of them is outside, even with tears in their eyes, saying, I'm going to work more, because they love what they do. Commissioner,
Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, and I definitely want to respect you, because you're the mayor of the city, and I hear your viewpoint of what you're trying to communicate, and I'm just a little lost, because I think that we all up here know that we all have made sacrifices to make sure that we're not laying any employees off. I think that that's been a mandate with all of us up here, that no matter what we have to do, we want to make sure people remain on their jobs so they can take care of their families. And I think that we did a great job of that last year. There were a few layoffs. I would have liked to have known them. Commissioner Carollo mentioned that at one time or the other. We did know it until the end. But I think going into this budget season, we all have agreed that we do not want to take that risk of having someone lose their job and not be able to take care of their families. So to me, that argument needs to be placed over here for a moment. I want to deal with the issue of how does $3.45 or $5 a month for even a working class family, or a family that's, let's say in my district, what does $5 per month have to do with someone's safety, someone's ability to have, a fire rescue truck come pick them up after a police shooting that has taken place in the neighborhood? Whatever it might be. My point is, maybe I'm missing it, but we have to have a stronger argument around why we're not even looking at it as an option. We can't just stand up here and say, we love and support our city employees, our fire and our police and our general employees, but yet we say that out of one mouth, but yet and still we're chopping their legs off. And I'm just going to be, for me, I don't ever have to be in office, let me finish. But while I am in office, I'm going to try to do the right thing. And I'm going to try to make sure that I'm never going to get caught up on what things look like and appear to be, because at the end of the day, if we're not able to meet these expenses that's necessary in order to keep the city alive, we will be bankrupt like every city that we see that's happening across this country, because they did not have the courage, or they didn't make the hard decisions necessary, or make the sacrifices so that at least we could sustain the city. I'm not saying that we have to do this forever. Out of all people, I think my community would be affected the most by it. But I know that if I had to take my message, and I'm willing to do that, to my residents to explain to them why this is necessary right now, we have to dig deep, we have to bite down, and just, for this next year, at least get us through this rough period, so that at least we can find ourselves stable. I think it's necessary. I think it's not one way or no way. It's just not. And at the end of the day, if anything ever happens to you at your house, God forbid, or any one of us, we're going to want fire rescue to show up and not have enough people available working, because we have literally destroyed the departments. We have literally destroyed the morale of the employees. And it's just crazy that we're even having this discussion for $3.45.
I think, Commissioner, that, you're trying to make your point, but at the same time, what we're doing here is not making a point. We're structuring a city for the future. We're trying to...
Tell me how you're doing that with $3.45. Explain it to me.
It's not about $3.45, which, you know, it's only a number there. It's about the future. The commission,
We're not going to have a future. You're not going to be able to get a developer or builder or anybody to do anything here in Miami if they feel unsafe in the city. If the police, if we don't have enough police in the streets, if people don't feel like they're getting the proper services, Mr. Mayor, in this city, I don't care how many investors you think you're going to attract to the area, guess what? They're not going to come. I'm trying to rebuild Overtown right now. The biggest issue I have is crime. The biggest issue, Liberty City, the biggest issue I have is gun violence.
And you think that with $3 you'll be able to place a police officer in one block, every block?
No, what I'm saying
Commissioner,
to you, what I do think will happen is that we will send a message to our city employees that we are willing to make the same kind of sacrifices that we're asking them to make.
Well, you know, my first action as City of Miami Mayor was to ask the Commission to allow me to reduce my salary and benefits by 38%. I took a $63,000 cut, and I need it because I don't have a business, I don't have, I don't work a second job. Commissioner, with all due respect, let me finish.
This is not about you.
Guys.
This is not about you.
Let's keep this orderly. Let's point, counterpoint.
But it's not about one person.
But it's not about one person. But I'm saying, I'm a city employee. And
That's not you, one person, Mr. Mayor. You're one person. I'm
Commissioner,
saying we got a department that already, you know, is dying. The morale of the people, you know, we cannot continue to cut their legs. We can't continue to do it. We got to be able to say at least take it to the employees.
You have, Commissioner, the City Commission has the ability to raise the taxes to the max. It's 10 mils. It's several $1 million. Maybe half of the problem is solved, but that's not the issue. I understand what you're saying, but what I'm telling you that we cannot afford, and I said that once, to kill the city to save the government. And this is not about the employees. This is about having a government that is sound and solid in terms of economy for the next 30 years. They're going to be here 30 years from now, 40 years from now, and we need to fix all the things that you are fixing in terms of RSP, in terms of taxes, in terms of leases. So we are doing this. We are presenting to you a budget that is sound. It's a budget that is difficult for the employees, but at the same time, it's a budget that allows the people to work. In my office, 50% of the calls and requests are for people looking for jobs. There's a lot of people in the city of Miami that are looking for jobs. And to have a job at this moment, it's important. This is not the only city that has this problem. Many cities have fired police officers, firefighters throughout the United States, and even here in South Florida. What I'm saying to you is that what we have done is to work for the future, not just for this year. You say that we shouldn't do it this year, we could do it this year, and next year we won't do it. But the problem is that that was the practice of the past that create those problems. We didn't create these problems because these problems are coming from many years ago. So we're trying to fix it. And I'm telling you that it's important, number one, to have a budget where no employees are laid off. We're proposing things with no furloughs and no employees. And maybe the unions will come to the table and work for it and work with us. But to raise taxes will be the biggest mistake that this government can make in the last years. You cannot in this economy keep raising taxes or fees. This commission turned down a small raise in the solid waste fee. Was $15. It was 89 cents a day. And it did because philosophically it's what we needed to do at the time. And it has worked. The point that I'm trying to make is that this is working. The philosophy of not raising taxes, of reducing expenses, keeping the workforce intact is working. This administration is working for the future and the present, and we have been able to deliver. And respectfully, I disagree with the union president and you that police officers don't want to work or they feel that they should leave. I have seen police officers throughout the city do an extraordinary work, and they love it, and they do it, and they are here for the long haul.
But
we're not. And all I can tell you, I'm not going to change your mind, but you're not going to change mine.
That's fine.
And I believe that this is a good budget. I believe that this proposal sends a very clear message that we're doing the right thing in the city of Miami. And I ask you to support the administration proposal of the millage.
Commissioner Ward?
Danny, I have questions. Can you come up? My understanding, debt service millage went down.
Correct. The debt service millage went from 0.93 to 0.90.
We changed that to the journal. How much would that produce?
If you only took that 0.03 to the general fund, that would represent $833,000 to the general fund.
Okay. My question is, I don't know what the commission is going to be doing here, and I understand the people want us to increase the taxes, especially the union and so on, and the public, you want the residents to speak, and I think I personally would be in favor of putting an increase right now, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to be sure that I'm going to do it come September. I just want to make sure. I want to address that. Because my understanding is when you do that, you give certain hope, but at the same time, the residents of the city of Miami will receive the package, tell them, and they'll speak. They'll call us and they'll let us know if they're willing to pay or not. I mean,
Right.
that's something that, Mr. Mayor, I understand where you're coming from, but I think maybe this is an opportunity to give the residents to speak. Yes, well, I'm willing to do it. I'm not willing to do it. Let the residents come up with it. Now, I also want to know, when you come back, compare the tax payment that our residents pay compared to other municipalities. All right? Because I think that's very important. Because I also know a lot of people, young people, that want to come, and they don't buy property in the city of Miami because the taxes are considered very high and they go other places. I want to have that comparison also. Okay?
I can have that for you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I don't think anybody up here would say that I'm a friend to any of the unions or I'm a friend to any of the employees. And I'm candidly, I was very impressed when we learned that from 2001 to 2010, the employees had taken 110% of the additional revenue that we had generated, and I think we were out of whack for a while. But the question becomes, like when you dip a towel in the bathtub and you start wringing it out, at what point is the towel no longer able to give you any more water? And I just feel like we're close. I actually think we're there. I think we have taken as much as we can take. I think I'm going to restrict myself to the safety personnel, police and fire. I look at the trucks, I look at the cars, and I'm beginning to look at the uniforms, and I'm just not sure that this is the city. And I think it's an image too, Mr. Mayor. I think it's an image of people driving modern vehicles and driving in a car that they feel good in and wearing a brand new uniform and maybe getting a physical. I think it's statistically clear that the police officers pretty much only make it to 65 years old, and I think fire is somewhat in that vein too. And I think there are still some structural problems, and that's why I only mentioned police and fire, because candidly, I've told you what I've said about the general employees. I don't quite have the same feeling. I can find private sector jobs for general employees that I have a different feeling about. But for police and fire, I can't find a parallel job for them to do. The private sector doesn't have a parallel job for them. And I want to leave us some flexibility. I want to leave us the flexibility, and I may very well to say, you know what, let's just go impact. I've been through an impact hearing. I remember what a minute and 20 seconds felt like, guys.
Minute 4.
You know, I remember when I chaired that meeting, and it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun, but I did it. I think everybody wants to go, you know, principle, my principle. And I read things, I know that governments are laying off people left and right. I know it accounts for over 300,000 workers have been laid off in government. And I understand that. And I just wonder if we're not approaching a tipping point with some of these employees. I wonder if at some point, and I'm not suggesting a pay increase for any of them. I'm not saying that at all. I want to make sure that we pay for police uniforms. I want to make sure we pay for police cars. I want to make sure that, and the fire department trucks, they're getting old looking. And I know we bought some with CDBG money, but I'm beginning to think that we're looking a little thin in the city. And let me argue against myself for a moment. 94 police officers down, and we're going to address that on my blue page item. And that argues against me because we allocated 94 positions, but we didn't fill 94 positions. And if I allocate more money to deal with things, I'll still be those same 94 officers down because we couldn't fill those positions because of bureaucratic BS. You know, when you can't read a consent decree and there's no word hire in there, and you let an employee tell you you can't do something, that is the fault, Mr. Manager, maybe not of your administration, but you inherited that problem, and we didn't react quickly enough. I have no idea what I'll do with regard to September, but I don't want to tie anyone's hands. And I realize I'm sending a little bit of a signal to the unions, and I don't mean to signal you guys anything, but I'm open to the discussion, to the debate, that maybe the towel is rung as far as we're going to get it. And I just think we should give ourselves the flexibility. You know, it's going to be my district that's predominantly going to be paying a lot of this money. And I just think, let's say the average home in District 2, I don't know that it's as high, is $250 a year. Would I pay $250 a year to feel safer? I know I would. And I know there is, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if it's a big morale problem, but I know there is a morale problem. You could see it, it's palpable, you feel it, these guys want to do their jobs, but there is some morale attendant to it. And I know I'm a real believer that I think we needed to get our house in order before we went to the revenue side. But let me bring another part of the equation in here. I know the financial markets have been watching us very, very carefully and very, very closely. I know one of the financial markets, when we even voted for something you guys all believed in, and I'm not here to berate or get into it, but when we voted to have that special fund for parades, I know the financial markets actually called the CFO and said something pretty negative about the city. And the financial markets want to see us at least show a willingness to work on the revenue side of the city's coffers. And I'm not going to say I can show you a financial analysis, and I certainly wouldn't try to challenge Commissioner Carollo to this, but if we go out to bond and need to bond, I could suggest to you that the financial markets might look more favorably upon the city of Miami if we just show a slight inclination to demonstrate that we're willing to go on a revenue side of the story. Because I know they're looking for cities to start doing that. I know this is not popular, what I'm saying to the electorate. I know it's not a very popular thing. But I think if it's phrased properly, and I think Spence Jones pretty much phrased it properly, are you willing to pay $5 extra a month for, and here's the part you haven't gotten me yet. Maybe the police can get me there. Because if I'm 94 cops down now, and I allocated those 94 positions, if I go the $5 extra a month, I haven't really done anything, because I didn't get those cops on the street. So I'm not solving that problem. But in my mind, what I am doing, I'm at least giving them, the morale comes up, I'm giving them new police uniforms, I should be giving them new police cars, the fire department should be getting new uniforms and new apparatus. And I think that's a message I want to send at this point. Now, it's tough to talk about principle, because principle, getting into a man or a woman's principle, you're getting into the core of that person. I could argue this dollar and cents either way very effectively. I could argue we should stick to what we've been doing, and I think I'm arguing adequately, not maybe very persuasively, but adequately, that maybe it's time we demonstrate a little deviation from something we've done. I'm going to go back to the analogy, and I'll close with that. I think we've wrung the towel as far as we can wring it. And I think it's time to show everyone, the citizens, the people who work with us and for us, and the financial markets, that we're willing to look at a revenue side as well. Because if you look at the savings that the average person has received over those 4 years, it's a lot more than $60 a year. And I'm not going to doubt that there are people out there that need that $60, and I'm not here to argue for or against that. But I think if somebody said, if I could just spend $60 a year and somehow be told by the city, I'm going to be a little bit safer, my garbage is going to be picked up a little more efficiently, and in the event something happens to me, I know that the fire department's going to be coming in a vehicle that's maintained. I think I'd make that bet.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one thing that I want to say, and that was well done, Commissioner Sarnoff. You said it really well.
Extra,
I appreciate that.
pay $60 more.
I just want, because I don't, regardless of whether or not, we work up here as as colleagues, but, we respect, I don't ever want the respect to be lost between the mayor and us, because I'm sure that for whatever reason, he's very passionate about, why, why this shouldn't happen. But, several times, I've heard, in all of our discussions that we have on this day, is how we like to retract back to the days that the other sitting commissioners were not here, but really when Mark, myself, and the mayor were here, and how the past administration had made a lot of mistakes. And, I'm not saying that the past administration didn't make any mistakes. We were part of those mistakes. But we have to remember, and I think the chairman said this maybe a few meetings back, trying to make a point on a whole other issue, that the city was in a very different place then. We were projecting revenues, and revenues were coming in. The city was healthier then, So, the decisions we made back then were decisions based upon the times we were in. And so I had to address that because, we keep saying that over and over again about, mistakes we've made and, how we've made a decision about raising taxes and how that actually affected people and how they got laid off. And some of that stuff is not quite how it was. And I'm going to say this, and I had it written down on my notes here, but Sarnoff Mark kind of took it out of my mouth. It's like, I'm not sure what police officers and what firemen Mayor Regalado is speaking to, because I know for a fact that the morale is down in the police department. I know for a fact the morale is down in the fire department. I know for a fact the morale is down with garbage. Journal employees, but solid waste workers, something to say. So I know that for a fact. You know, every time I go out to a shooting scene, you know, every time I show up to an event that's happening in the neighborhoods, and there's an officer there or a firefighter, you know, they're doing their job because they love what they do, but you can bet and believe that they're pulling you aside and saying, you know, we're afraid this is going to happen to us. And you just can't have people out there working for you that just feel like you're not even trying. It would be a difference if we made a decision and then, like you said, Commissioner Gort, we start getting crazy calls from, you know, our residents, and they say, no, 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 then we have to balance that out, you know? But we making a decision with 6 people sitting in the room. I have a concern about that. I really do, especially when it's affecting the whole entire city. You know, now, maybe September when is it, the 13th is our next meeting? Maybe when we have that meeting, this may be a whole different conversation. Maybe we need to say to unions, you know, hey, look, if this is something we're going to make a decision on, you know, we'd like to see you guys help us put a message together to make sure the residents of the city of Miami at least understand, you know, send some mailers out. Let's get it out so they understand why we're making this decision. And if they come back and say, hey, we're not with it, then you at least know we tried. At least you know we tried. You know, and that's the part for me that just, you know, it is painful because we sit up and we justify everything else, you know, every reason, because it's on our own personal belief, you know, and that's just not right. It doesn't matter who you are. We got to be fair and we got to be just. And it can't be, you know, we're making decisions about our personal beliefs. It's just not right. I make decisions up here all the time, you know, on issues that I may not think they're the best issues, maybe even for your districts. But, you know, for whatever reason, just like the issue of, you know, burn notice this morning. You had a room full of people. That could have clearly turned out to be something crazy. But I defer to you on this issue because I know you understand your district, and I want to respect you as the commissioner of your district. You know, and every single night, not one of you guys can sit up here and tell me that the police and the fire and the employees have not come to you guys concerned about what's happening to them. Come on now. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, we can debate it all, and I think this was a healthy debate, and I'm thankful that we were able to have it. You know, so that's my viewpoint on the issue.
Thank you. Commissioner Gort.
Yeah, one thing that I want to make sure that this gets to the public, that this gets to the employee, because one of the major problems that we have is rumor mills.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there's all kinds of rumors going around. They're going to take 50%, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. I just want to make sure that everybody gets the right information from both sides. I think that's very important.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask Danny to come back up really fast, and I think Commissioner Gort kind of hit on it and Commissioner Sarnoff kind of hit on it, but just, Danny, based upon these numbers, you know, and we're talking about the millage from it seems like at least we do have somewhat of a consensus on, you know, the idea of we have up until September the 13th to make a decision on, you know, cutting all the way back to where we were before or leaving it where it was. What would be your thought and recommendation? Look at Danny's face like, don't do that to me, Michelle. What, without putting you on the spot?
Commissioner,
Okay.
Commissioner, it's the policy decision of this commission to set the millage.
You sound like Julie.
Our proposal,
You sound like Julie.
the city's proposal
Do you
is
have blonde
to go
roots? You gotta have blonde roots.
7.571 mills.
Okay, I understand. I got the point. Okay, but Danny then, okay, let me ask a different way.
Yeah, real quick, how did you come up with that proposal?
Commissioner, the proposal was arrived at because the directive that we had to prepare a budget was to not raise the tax rate, to not apply layoffs, to try to not impact the pocketbooks of our employees, and to not reduce services. The budget that we put together with the assumption of the savings that will be reached through our labor agreements does that. Granted, there is some impact to our employees on their pension plans particularly, and some co-pays, et cetera, on health.
So, Danny, let's ask the question a little differently. I don't know if you want to add to your question. I think you got your real answer. Okay. So based upon what Gort just made a suggestion of, what would that take the millage up to, based upon Gort's suggestion?
If this commission decided to give itself some flexibility and increase the millage by half a mil, the overall millage would rise from 8.501 to 8.9710, and it would yield $13.9 million more to the general fund.
Ooh, and what would that mean to the citizens?
To the average homestead property owner, that would be $5 a month or $60 a year in their tax bill, given the property appraiser's current stated average homestead property value in the city of Miami of $118,000. For $1 million property, that's that's $500 a year, or roughly $41 a month.
Wow. Okay, and then in closing on this, Danny, what will that do to the overall budget? How would this assist in the overall budget? Because we have a gap of what?
$40 million.
$40 million. And this would give you how much towards that?
Well, it would make negotiations certainly go easier. It would reduce. First of all, when I say, let me get back. $40 million that we're looking at, assume the absolute worst case scenario given Jesse and FIPO, et cetera. Jesse and FIPO boards have already passed certain changes to their requirements that really can back off about $11 million off of that 40. We just haven't accepted it yet because we don't have anything in writing yet.
Right.
So that would take that number roughly to about $29 million.
So
then, I'm sorry, Commissioner, there's an additional $4 million that if the Jesse group, ASME group agrees to, can be reduced with no impact to pension whatsoever, so that would take that number roughly to $25 million. This would be roughly $14 million, leaving about 11.2, call it $11.5 million left to negotiate with unions as to how to achieve a balanced budget.
I mean,
What's the average tax paid by the homeowners at this time?
yeah.
The average tax bill right now?
Yes. Well, that's the information I'd like to have. You can have it today.
If the property values are going to be the average homestead property value being $118,112, for those homestead property owners, not doing this would have them pay roughly a city tax bill of $1,000.53 per year. And if we went with a half a mil extra, it would take it to $1,059.58. The average homestead property. Now, if you have $1 million warehouse, your tax bill is $8,471, and this would take your tax bill to $8,971.
And Mr. Chairman, I just want to say, I don't know if it was you that, I don't know if it was you. It might have been Gort or Sarnoff. So, no, it was Gort. Sorry. So, both of you guys. So the thought was, September the 13th would at least give us an opportunity to kind of, in your mind, Commissioner Gort, flush it out, and then we still can go lower, or we still can go back to where we were if we see that we have no, if we're not able to make the...
My understanding is we can always go lower, we cannot go high. I think what he's doing and what we're asking the mayor is to let the people vote on this. I mean, they'll receive the tax bill in August, and they'll be able to tell us, hey, I'm willing to pay this, I'm willing to stay in the city of Miami because I want to do this. They might call back and say, look, I can't afford it, so we'll have to see. But I think this is one way to allow the people to decide.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved what? You have to say what you move.
Oh, wait.
Huh?
You have to specify what you're moving.
Oh,
Are you moving
I'm
administration?
moving whatever Danny just said.
No, wait a minute.
Okay, Commissioner Gort, then you put on.
What's the present mill that we have here today?
The proposed millage by the manager and the mayor and the proposed budget is 7.571 mils and 0.9 mils on the debt. meaning that the total millage proposed is 8.471.
which is .03 less than what exists today.
Correct, which is .03 mils lower than the current millage in the city.
So her motion would be to increase the mill to 8.971.
That is correct, and to apply the entire half a millage increase to the operating budget.
Because you wouldn't need it for your...
I wouldn't need it on the debt service, correct?
And that would not result in a full half mill. It would just be something like a .4 something.
Correct.
Is that your motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, you make the motion, because
Okay,
I
there's
just
a
have no
motion by
idea
the
what
vice chair.
it
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any further discussion?
Yes, discussion.
You're recognized, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Now you got discussion after all of that?
Hey,
I'm just-
I gotta see what you're putting on the table.
Okay, as long as you're going to take this presentation up front.
Now you want to limit the conversation. Now you want to limit the discussion.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Listen, I have a question. Is voting for this mean that we have voted for a tax increase? Madam City Attorney.
Yes, you're recognized, Mr. Fong.
Thank you.
Because
Either way,
in essence, it doesn't go into effect. All it is setting a cap. So, because I know the mischief that could be, how it could be spun real quickly. It's voting for this, okay, it's voting for this, voting for a tax increase, because in essence, it does not go into effect. In essence, all we're doing is setting a cap, and in September, not even the first meeting of September, in the second meeting of September, because I think it needs 2 votes, correct? That's when we actually either raise the millage or reduce it or leave it as is. Is that correct? And I want from our attorneys and Danny, whoever wants to chime in, because I want to be clear. If it's not going into effect, all we're doing is setting a cap, are we raising taxes?
you are definitely raising the millage rate that will be put on trim and sent to the property owners.
Right.
There's no question about that. So if you're asking me, are you moving forward a millage that is higher than current and higher than proposed? Yes. If you're asking me, is this a tax increase as defined by the state law? Yes, but so would 7.571. So we're going to have to advertise a tax increase between the first and the second meeting in September, whether we do this half a mil or we stay flat. Either way, you're going to have to advertise a tax increase.
How about if we do what is proposed? Do we still have a tax increase on notice?
As defined by state law, yes, you would advertise a tax increase between the first and the second hearing in September. Not right now. There is no increase yet having to be advertised because you haven't even voted a preliminary budget, which is what you do on September 13th.
So what you're telling me that even though the proposal what was in our agenda is a reduction of $3.54, it will still be a tax increase or a proposed tax increase?
According to the state statute, the proposed 7.571 mils operating is a tax increase if that is still the rate September 13th when we do the preliminary budget. Yes.
Is that it? Or what about that?
So I don't get it. Regardless if we reduce it
Either way.
or we increase it, it's a tax increase. I don't get it.
Commissioner, because we've talked about this last time, the state-defined computation for whether you have a tax increase or not is based on a comparison of your July 1st preliminary number of 2011 to the July 1st preliminary number in terms of value of 2012. But the 2011 number has to be adjusted by the Value Adjustment Board. The Value Adjustment Board took our value down 5.4%, and ultimately means that the state, as it defines it, by us having the same millage this year, we're having to advertise a tax increase, even if we keep the same flat millage.
Right, but as the discussion was earlier, that we're going to reduce taxes by $3.54, $3.45, it was still going to be a tax increase notice?
While the overall rate of taxation would have gone down by 0.03, it would still have to be advertised as a tax increase by the city of Miami, yes.
Either way.
Either way, Commissioner.
Because the values of the properties went up.
Oh, I understand it. I understand better than you think I understand it. I understand it. But
Well, we think you understand it.
I just want to be clear because there was all this discussion that we were going to reduce our taxes, and it was going to be by $3.45. Is that correct? $3.45? Yeah, it was still going to be a tax increase. And now, if we consider a cap to give us flexibility and to further look at it, and yeah, let the trim notices go out, let our residents speak about it, let us know, and so forth. It's going to be the same tax notice, correct? Except the amount will be a little different.
Correct.
And it would actually not be a tax increase, okay, because it has not increased their taxes. All it is was generated a paper that said, if it's kept this way, this is what it's going to cost. But we have not increased taxes. Is that correct?
That is correct. The trim notice that is sent out to the homeowners actually says, as is proposed, this is the impact to you and your property tax bill. If there is no change, this is the impact.
Okay, and let me be clear in that. As is proposed, so that means that we're proposing this increase?
If this commission passes...
One thing is proposing, one thing is capping, so we're not, we're not...
Yeah.
What happens is come September, all of a sudden, we're...
Commissioner, it is clearly understood that the statute allows you to set a ceiling right now. We have to get this information to the property appraiser so that he has something to send to the residents. In September, in the first hearing, the commission adopts a preliminary budget with a preliminary millage. At that point, then we are required to advertise whether that preliminary budget and millage is or is not a tax increase. The only way it would not be a tax increase is if we go to rollback. To go to rollback would require an additional $13.159 million of reductions beyond that which we have proposed in our budget. So instead of looking for $40 million, we'd be looking for 53.1. Okay? So anything above that would have to be advertised as a tax increase. After the September 13th meeting, 2 weeks later, we're going to have a final budget hearing, at which point then this commission will pass its final budget, and then at that point you definitely will have either an increase or not.
Mr. Chairman, I just want...
I got my answers.
Okay. I just have one. Armando, can you come to the mic for a second?
Can I say before?
Sure.
Just to,
No
so you
problem.
can get the technical advice. There is a motion, but it's no second, right? Am I
Yes,
correct?
second, I believe. It was moved by the vice chair and it was seconded by Commissioner...
Yeah, he just had questions.
Right, and the motion...
To increase the millage rate by half a point
Right, and the motions
for
contains...
purposes of advertisement.
Right, then, well, for the motion, for the purpose of the trim notice.
Correct, for purposes of...
And the motion contains a tax increase.
Correct.
Hopefully, there will be a vote, and hopefully, there will be different votes in the commission. You need Danny to explain what is the consequences if by Monday I will veto this. He has to send the trim, but I understand that the manager has the authority to send to the property appraisal a flat millage, which is what we are proposing here. So that's my understanding.
Hold on. You didn't, what was proposed was not a flat millage. What was proposed was a lower millage.
Because of flat on the operational, but it is lower on the debt. But this is a proposal that could be sent by the manager to the property appraisal for the trim if I veto this resolution.
And in order for your veto to be effective, you need to have at least we need at least 4 votes in order for the veto. I just want to be clear, Madam City.
Ask the city attorney.
Okay, she's
Madam
answering
City
that question.
Attorney.
While she's doing that, I just want, just real fast, since I have y'all standing, can I, can I ask this quick question of you, Armando?
Sure.
And Robert, and all 3 of you? Okay. If we make this decision today, do we have your commitments to at least help us get the message out to the general residents of the city of Miami of what this, assist us with getting the message to them about why we're doing this, or this.
Absolutely, Commissioner. As a matter of fact, I'm in front of cameras more than I would like to admit, and I will make sure I hit all the radio stations and
That's my
the
point.
TV station, TV shows, and address this issue. And I really appreciate the fact that some of you have taken a leadership role in this and at least met us halfway, which is all we've been asking for.
Okay, Robert, I want you to put on the record.
Robert Suarez, Miami Association of Firefighters. Absolutely, Commissioner. As Armando states, the conversations we've already had with the media, many of which understand the issue that's been going on here in the city, and I think it's really not that difficult to explain to the media and to the citizens how deep the cuts have been in the city, and that this can't continue forever, and that what the Commission is doing here is to try to keep this ship from sinking, and absolutely have our commitment to continue that message.
Wonderful. Jason?
Anthony Hatton, Union President, Local 1907. Yes, you'll get all full cooperation from the general employees to get the message out and to let the citizens know that, this is necessary to keep the city running at its best, because we're so short-staffed. It's not funny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. At the same time, I want the commitment that we're going to continue to work
Yes.
with and see what we can come up with, because at the same time, let me tell you, we have to look at the future. We have to look at new employees that are going to be coming into the city of Miami. A lot of them might not be able to receive the benefits that we received in the past. So I think it's important that we're looking not only at the budget this year, but we're looking at the budget for the next 5 years.
Yeah, we got to work together.
Mr. Mayor, I think we really need to analyze the decisions we take, because if you veto this, my understanding, it goes to a rollback millage.
No, it doesn't. The manager has the authority to send
Madam City Attorney, she's shaking her head.
Commissioners, if the mayor were to institute a veto, then we go to rollback rate. The manager does not have the authority, because the city commission is the only body that has the power.
Danny just talked to the property appraisal this afternoon, and he says otherwise. That's why I said that I wouldn't.
We're trying to confirm that information. The city attorney is talking to the deputy property appraiser right now. There's some question as to exactly what the statute says.
But so I'm clear, Madam City Attorney, it's still for 4 votes, right?
No, the current proposal from the administration is a 3-vote. It requires the normal 3-person vote. Now, if you wanted to go in excess and it's 110% of rollback rate, then you need a unanimous vote. But we're not doing that.
No.
Wait. I think you guys, can I kind of lay it out for you? Because it takes 3 commissioners to set the rate. The mayor, should he exercise his veto on Monday, we would then have the right to come back in and try to override that veto.
Correct. But the problem with that scenario is that the veto override happens at the next regular scheduled meeting.
And we could not
call a special meeting.
Wait. 3 commissioners could not call for a special meeting. I don't think the chair would, but the 3 commissioners wouldn't call for a special meeting.
You cannot override a veto at a special meeting. It has to be at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So
couldn't the mayor just issue like a strong letter of reprimand against us?
No.
Okay.
I said that I understand. I understand, but I think that this commission has done the right thing for the last years, and I think that we are on the right path. And I really believe that it's my duty to use the power of the veto should the commission approve this rate increase. I really do, and I will.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
I just want to get clarity from the administration on this issue. I see Julie and I see the budget person trying to work out the situation. It would be just nice if we could all work together on this
Could
issue.
we do this? Could we do an alternate motion that in the event the mayor vetoes this motion, that we would then set the rate at the flat rate? Is that allowed, Madam City Attorney?
Mr. Chairman?
Or could we, can we recess on this item? Can we recess on this item after we vote?
After we vote, no, we better recess before we vote. 'cause
Okay, can we recess on this item?
Yes, we can. How much time does everyone need to make sure that everybody's on the same page here?
Wait.
What she's saying, what she's saying is that you don't close the meeting. And then, because you can only override a veto, that's what I think she's saying.
I think, Mr. Chair, if we gave us a 5-minute recess, both sides of the administrations might get together and we might get a better answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Meantime, can we move on to the other RE items?
Commissioners, I'm sorry, I wanted to correct something that I stated before. The clerk has just brought us the charter, and it does say that the City Commission may, at its regularly scheduled or special meeting after the veto occurs, override that veto by a forfeit
So
vote
we
of
could
the
have a
city.
special meeting.
I suspect, and remember how you set a special meeting. It's going to take then 3 commissioners to call for that meeting.
No, the chairman or myself can call for a special meeting.
And I'm sure the chairman was.
I don't suspect the mayor will be calling a meeting.
But
I sort of suspect the chairman won't be calling a meeting.
Huh?
I believe, and I need this confirmed, I believe 3 commissioners can call for a meeting.
I'm fairly certain you're right about that.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain you're right, because in fact, I remember getting an email from.
I remember you guys
Commissioner
doing
Floyd
that.
at the time
Yeah.
On that, so
So how do we resolve?
I helped you.
how do we want to resolve this?
You vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, we vote, but the question is, if the veto happens,
I think the issue here is as follows. I don't know if there's a legal mechanism if we vote to impose a $500,000 advertising rate and the mayor vetoes it. I think the question that has not been answered is, does it go to the rollback? Do you have to go to the rollback, in which case?
Rollback is worse.
you can't have that.
I understand.
Rollback what?
That's what I'm trying to say. Well, I'm framing the
Please
question.
do not kill Johnny over there, okay?
I'm not. I'm framing.
Fire rescue will not take him to the hospital.
I'm framing the question. I'm framing the question. I think the question is, if the mayor vetoes it, are you obligated, or is the administration obligated to advertise the rollback rate, in which case we cannot go above the rollback rate? Or, as the mayor indicated, can you advertise the flat rate?
Well, here's...
Wait a minute. This is very simple. If they apply the rollback and the trim, in September, we can go...
No, we can't.
Not at all. Okay.
Right, so here's our options. Option 1, we vote for this.
Yes.
The mayor says he will veto it. I don't think the chairman will call a special meeting.
Okay,
Wait, let me finish.
Okay.
3 commissioners call for a meeting, okay? We then can reconvene sometime next week.
Okay.
Alternative to that, and this is a question for either the clerk or the city attorney, can we have a motion that says, in the event the mayor vetoes this rate, this mill rate, then we pass the following resolution? So it is a subject to the mayor's veto. Can we do that? That would be wisdom. I doubt we have that wisdom.
Commissioner, it's not a routine resolution. It's not how we normally take legislative action, and I don't understand, because if the mayor is telling you I'm going to veto it, what's the point in doing an alternative resolution? He's telling you he's going to veto it.
You're saying, actually, you're actually taking away my freedom of speech.
No.
So I would say to you, Madam City Attorney, my way of doing it at least expresses some speech, and that is, I'm merely trying to convenience everybody that in the event the mayor exercises a veto, I don't want to go to a rollback rate.
I don't know, can you pass a conditional resolution like that?
To be honest with you, I haven't seen something that prohibits that. It's just a very unusual way of conducting your legislative business. You make a decision, and your decision is this is what the proposed millage rate is, but in the event that this happens, then this is what we're voting on. I mean,
Wouldn't that impair the right of the veto? I mean, what's the point of having a veto then if you can
No, why would it impair the right of veto? Because then he could veto that one.
But, no.
and then the mayor would be vetoing part of the resolution?
No.
I actually kind of understand what you're saying.
Yeah, the mayor could veto what we're taking the action.
I don't know if it's legal, but I know what you're saying.
Well, let me put it out there. I mean, in Oregon, other places, they say, I vote for Commissioner Suarez, but my second vote would be for Commissioner Carollo, because they want to have 50 plus 1%, but they want to have one vote. So this is done. Right.
I think Commissioner Sarnoff makes sense. What he's saying.
And you know what? We'll come back.
Because you know that on Monday, I will be issuing a veto message for the raise of the $500,000. Then you have an alternative, if that is permissible by the city attorney. I'm just saying, if not, the manager has to send the rate as stated here to the property appraisal. But there is no doubt that I will proceed with the veto.
Okay,
sure,
can I just ask this question? And I just want to know this from Madam City Attorney. So the whole purpose of the veto is, at the end of the day, even if we decided something that we want to do up here as a group, and he decides he doesn't want it to happen, are you saying that it won't happen?
There's a procedure for this legislative body to take action. There's a procedure for the mayor to override the action, and then there's a procedure for this legislative body to ultimately override the mayor's override.
But I wanted to
Commissioner Sarnoff is suggesting, because of the time constraints that we have and the fact that the property appraiser has to receive the proposed millage rate, and the fact that he's uncertain as to whether or not there would be a special commission meeting called, he wants to assure that at a minimum the flat rate would be communicated to the property appraiser. So what he is suggesting is a rather unusual mechanism, but I can't tell him that it's prohibited, that this commission approve the millage rate that has been discussed here with a slight increase, have a section in that resolution that says in the event that the mayor vetoes that proposed increase, this commission then is instructing the manager to submit to the property appraiser a flat rate. That's what he's suggesting. I can't tell him that that's illegal, prohibited, or that wouldn't work, and I'd like to ask Danny if he would be okay with that, because he's the one that communicates with the property appraiser. I mean, I think that would be okay, right?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't like the I think, so, so realistically, can we just move on to the next resolution, let them figure it out, and then come back to us in, I guess, 15 minutes or so? But in the meantime, we keep working, and we look at some other of these resolutions. I mean, we have charter amendments. This one, elections, which is next, which is supposedly going to save $1.5 million. So can we just keep working and you guys figure it out?
Can I explain this a little better? Because I just had a conversation with Lázaro from the property appraiser's office. The property appraiser is not going to care about the form of the resolution that we sent. What the property appraiser just wants to get is the form that gets filled out, signed by somebody. He doesn't know who has the authority in the city to sign it. That's what my business is, to determine who has the authority. I believe that it's this commission who has to instruct the administration as to what the proposed rate is. How you instruct this administration what the proposed rate really is up to, I think, the commission. And if you want to do it in the form that Commissioner Sarnoff is suggesting, as long as that authority is given to the manager, I think that would be appropriate.
I'm going to ask to call the question on the first one, and then I'm going to make a motion on the second one.
All right. There's a motion. Can we, and a second.
I thought we had a motion.
That's what I said.
No, call the question on the first one.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman. You know, all this, I think, it's not very good. I strongly suggest that they figure it out, so it's not I think before I take this vote. You know, and that's my recommendation.
I have no issue with that.
Okay.
Okay, and then my question is, they have up until August 3rd to let them know.
I don't even know that. Until when do you have to give trim them?
He said August 3rd.
August 3rd, we have to submit our information.
We have plenty of time. It's the 26th. Yeah, if he vetoes on Monday and the city commission convenes the next day
And I could
overrides the
and I could
veto.
give you one more safeguard on this. I could then poll 3 commissioners and ask for a
Sure.
special meeting
Right.
on next Wednesday. In the event the city attorney says, you know, Commissioner, I researched and the state of Alaska had this once before, and I think it's persuasive authority that you can or can't do this. So I know you're not going to come up with the answer because there is no answer.
There is no answer. There's no
Right.
precedent.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with cutting edge.
And by the way, no, I think there's a charter mandated process, and to deviate from that, I think is dangerous. The charter mandated process for legislating and then vetoing legislation, then overriding vetoes is set forth in the charter. So to create kind of some vehicle that is, you know,
So you think we have to come back and then...
I mean, we have the time, we might as well follow the charter. You know what I mean?
Unless, realistically, the mayor has 10 days. He doesn't have to veto it on Monday.
But then what...
No, but I would not put the city in harm's way, nor this commission. What I said to you is that on Monday, so there is plenty of time for the commission to reconvene and for Danny to send the trim notice. What I would never want to do is just to let it lapse and do it on the ninth day, so they go to rollback, and that will be...
That's detrimental for the city. That hurts the city.
That's worse. So what I'm saying to you is that, you know, if you take action, and you should, this moment, with whatever motion there is, I would issue a veto message on Monday, and then you can reconvene the city commission on Tuesday with 24-hour notice, or Wednesday.
Well,
you still have time for the budget director and the manager to communicate to the property appraisal the information.
I still think, I want the employees to hear this, that it was a brilliant motion for the alternative, but doesn't seem to be impressing anyone. So I'm going to table the motion that's on the table for right now and ask that we reconvene on August 1 at 9 o'clock.
I may not be in town August 1, so can we...
Can you do it on the 31st?
Tell me when you're going to be in town.
Can we do it on the 31st?
31st.
I'll tell you what, I don't mind that I have to tell the judge I can't be there. That's okay.
The
31st?
The 31st is Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
I'll be there, 9 o'clock.
Okay, where we're doing it.
So we're setting a special city commission meeting to... Go ahead.
If you are going to recess, then you don't have to special.
So you just recessing it.
Right, because you're going to continue this meeting. Is that what you're trying to do?
I think he's trying to set a special meeting date.
I am, so
Right,
that...
and you have 3 commissioners that will agree to a special meeting date
Right.
at that time, then you can set the special meeting date. Isn't that correct?
But if you recess, if you recess this meeting,
right,
you can say as chairman that you're going to reconvene on Tuesday at 9 a.m. and you don't have to advertise a sole item, which will be the millage. If there is something else that is left here, you can do it. This is what I think the city clerk is saying. We have done that in the past. We have done that many times during budget times of recessing, instead of closing the meeting, recessing the meeting to come back on Tuesday at 9 a.m. By then, but first you have to vote on this resolution First, you have to vote on this
I get it.
increase,
Right.
because if you wait for Tuesday to deal with this, then I have to veto it on Wednesday, and then there is no time.
No, I agree. But so do we have to announce that we're recessing this meeting until Tuesday, August?
When we finish the meeting, we can recess it.
No, when you finish, he has to recess.
Okay, I got you. All right, so now,
We got clarity?
No, Commissioner, your intent is to vote on the item today.
correct,
But leave yourself the opportunity to meet next week.
correct.
It cannot be recessed because the override of the veto has to be at a special
That's
meeting
what I
or
thought,
at the
Madam
next
City.
regularly, so it
That's
has
what
to
I
be a
thought.
special meeting.
Yeah, I agreed with you. So, let me go back to my originally stated motion. I'm asking another commissioner to join me in asking to set a special meeting on August 31.
August 31?
No, I'm sorry, July 31. August 31, are there 31 days in August? On July 31 at 9 o'clock.
Second? Oh, I don't have to say second. I join you.
No, we do. We need, I think 3 commissioners have to do this. We're not the chair and we're not the mayor.
We just did it. You
Oh,
got
is there a second? Well,
I
he's
just
got a call.
second.
It's not about a first and a second, it's three.
Right.
Two, would you like to come to a special meeting on what day is it, at what time?
July 31st, 9 o'clock.
July 31st at 9 o'clock. Would you agree to call a special meeting on that day? Okay, he has to check on his calendar.
Oh, my God. I think he just said yes. Frank, didn't you say you can come on Tuesday at 9 o'clock?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so is that, so now all in favor?
Yes, aye.
We need 3 commissioners to set a special meeting, right?
You don't have to vote on it, you just
You
have
don't
to
think
declare.
so?
No. You don't have to vote on it.
Madam City Clerk,
Wait, I want to make sure we don't have to vote on this.
Madam
Just
City
set a special meeting and vote on it.
Okay,
Is there a reason why we don't recess and
Yeah,
work this?
there is a reason. There is a reason we don't. There is a reason not to recess.
Wow.
No, I'm saying,
Right now.
is there a reason why we don't recess right now, work this out, and then
Because it's not going to get worked out, and
not
we know
gonna-
it's not going to get worked out. And I just assume it's not going to get worked out, Frank. They don't know the answer to the question because there is no answer to the
Vice
question.
Chair, Vice
But
Chair.
how can we vote if-
3 commissioners have stated on the record that they will attend and they will agree to the calling of a special meeting on
July 31st.
July 31st at 9 a.m. I think that is sufficient to comply with the charter.
I want to hear from the clerk.
except you need to state the call of the meeting. What are you going to
To address the millage rate, to establish the millage rate for the city.
And
Yes.
potentially address what is potentially a mayoral veto.
No, I think if you just say to establish the millage
Frank,
rate of the
Frank, come
city,
on,
it gives you the
Come on, we
option.
got stuff to do. Come on now. We got to deal with these other charts. Come on, it's business. Let's take care of it so we can be done with it.
But no one really knows.
I know, but don't walk out on your colleague. He's trying to explain it to you. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
Look,
Mark.
all we're doing is we're doing the safest possible thing we can do. We're not going up with my alternate motion. We're not doing any of that stuff, which was brilliant, by the way. But we're literally just anticipating what the mayor says he's going to do. And then what we're making sure we do, well, I don't know what you guys are going to do on that day, but I'll be voting then for a flat mill rate.
Right.
And by the way, this is why I wanted to have this discussion much earlier, and I kept saying, why are we skipping this? Why are we going to other items?
No, and I know.
That's
And I
the
just
reason why I was doing it. And now all of a sudden,
And Commissioner Spence-Jones is staying, and so we're sticking to it. So, all right, do we think we need a resolution? It can't hurt, guys.
I know to have the discussion.
No, it can't hurt to resolve to have the meeting on Wednesday, on Tuesday, excuse me, at the 31st. It makes sense. It's a precaution. So I'm gonna, Mr. Chair, with your permission, all in favor for a meeting on July 31st at 9 o'clock to discuss millage, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Boy, that's as safe as it gets. Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring back my motion to establish the mill rate at the previously established motion.
Okay.
And I'd like to call a question.
Okay. I'm not so sure that works, but we'll go with it. There's a motion by the Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Spence-Jones. Roll call, please.
what's the motion?
the motion is
His
what...
original motion.
His original motion that he tabled,
Right.
right? So it is to set the millage at...
8.971.
Okay.
Am I right,
For purposes
Mr.?
of trim notice. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, was not part of that motion, did that, not part of that motion address the debt service?
That's the total mill service, I believe.
That is correct. That is inclusive of the .9 mils for debt service.
Thank you. Your roll call, Commissioner Carollo,
No.
Commissioner Gore,
Wait a minute, wait. No. I don't understand. I'm lost. I'm lost in this.
They're making it easy for the mayor. So then now we're going to come back. I think what's going to happen.
I'm not lost.
You're not lost at all.
This is not that complicated.
continuing with your roll call.
Please.
Commissioner Spence-Jones?
Yes.
Vice Chair Suarez? Vice Chair Sarnoff?
Hey, don't put him in the vice chair. Yes.
Okay. And dear Chair Suarez?
No.
Then the motion fails. Okay, 2-3.
So then what are we having a special meeting for?
Now we have to make another motion.
You don't have to. Now you can do away with the special meeting because now we have to set the mill rate.
This is so crazy. But this is what
I
I'm saying.
strongly suggested that we keep on and let everyone work it out, or we take a recess.
Yeah, but what,
I strongly suggest it.
But you just agreed to have a special meeting to address it.
Yeah, I'll be here Tuesday, yes. I'll have a special
But it
meeting.
doesn't make, Commissioner Sarnoff to show you that it doesn't make sense to have the meeting.
You don't need one now. You just simply need to set a mill rate now.
I strongly suggest we take a recess.
So I'll tell you what. I'll make a motion.
Can we make a motion for the 10-minute recess to give him what he needs to have?
You don't need to make a motion for that. I can do that.
Okay, good.
Okay, it's 7:32. We're going to reconvene at 7:45 on the dot.